Not long ago this girl was still a wealthy heiress, but now she looks like a woman from the countryside. To pay off her medical bills, she is forced to work under a heartless employer. When Woo Hyuk comes to make a delivery, he unexpectedly finds Jin, who has been missing. The empty, hopeless look on her face is heartbreaking. Woo Hyuk tells her to go back with him, but she refuses. He finds the creditor to ask what happened, and says he will pay Jin's debt for her. He is also shocked to learn that Jin had tried to end everything but was saved. The man even had his wife sleep beside Jin, to keep her from doing anything reckless again. He gave her a lot of work, only to help her forget the pain for a while. Woo Hyuk looks at the girl he has secretly loved for years, and his heart aches for her, so he decides to stay and do farm work with her. Meanwhile, Do-kyung goes to the place where Jin met her sister, and finds nearby security footage, then discovers Jin went to the station. He asks around everywhere with Jin's photo, then suddenly remembers that before Jin's phone turned off, she had sent him a photo, so he immediately tells his assistant to track the phone's last location. Back at the office, he stares at his photo with Jin lost in thought. Once he gets the phone location from his assistant, Do-kyung drives there right away. Jin sees Woo Hyuk spending all his time here, and cannot bear to keep holding him back, so she decides to go back with him. She finds the couple who helped her and says goodbye. Before she leaves, the man even pays her wages. Jin is truly grateful to them for taking care of her all this time. While they are on the way back, Do-kyung also arrives there, and spots Jin in the car. He hits the gas poles in front of Woo Hyuk and stops, then opens the car door and pulls Jin out, angrily asking why she never returned his calls. But Jin coldly says, "What does that have to do with you?" Then she gets back in the car and leaves, leaving Do-kyung standing there stunned. Jin does not want to go home and face her family, so Woo Hyuk settles her at his sister's place. The next day he arranges for her to work at his woodworking studio. When Do-kyung finds out Jin did not go home, he goes to Woo Hyuk and asks where Jin went, and why she is not going home. Woo Hyuk gives him the studio address, and tells him to ask her himself. Do-kyung arrives at the studio, and sees Jin with all the life drained out of her. He takes out a document and gives it to her, saying he found her a job. Jin takes the document and says we should not see each other anymore, then walks away with no expression. Seeing Jin like this now, his eyes are filled with pity. Meanwhile, the vice chairman asks Father Seo to come to the company so he can thank him, because he has already found out where his daughter was abandoned years ago. If Father Seo had not taken her away and saved her, she might not be alive today, so he decides not to hold them responsible anymore, and hopes Father Seo can comfort Jin properly too, because she will surely hate you as well. But Father Seo says Jin has been missing for a long time. After going downstairs, Father Seo suddenly collapses. Do-kyung happens to see it and immediately takes him to the hospital. The doctor tells Father Seo after he wakes up to get a full checkup, but he leaves the hospital against advice and rushes to the police station to ask if any young women have recently been found unresponsive. Do-kyung sees how worn out Father Seo looks, and cannot bear to watch him suffer like this, so he steps forward and gives Father Seo the address of Jin's studio, saying she is fine now and he does not need to worry. After hearing this, Father Seo immediately goes to find his daughter, and just as he arrives he locks eyes with her as she steps outside to find his missing daughter. This father showed her photo around the station, asking everyone he could. Even when he felt unwell from exhaustion, he refused to give up. He sat on a busy street looking around in every direction, leaving messages for his daughter again and again, but every day he went home disappointed. When he heard his friend checking on him, he finally broke down, and could no longer hold back as he cried to his friend. Later he sat alone on a rooftop quietly crying. That day, after receiving news about his daughter, he rushed over, but his daughter was so scared she wanted to run away. Father Soo quickly called out to her, apologizing and urging her to come home with him. Jen remembered the things she had once said, blaming her father, and how she had even dragged him into a humiliating situation. She felt she had no idea how to face her parents, so she said, "Stop bothering me," and turned away, leaving Father Soo standing there in a daze. After returning home, he lay down without saying a word and fell asleep. Meanwhile, Do-kyung learned from a friend that Jen had not gone to the interview. He found her and asked why she was making everyone worry. He said Father Soo had searched everywhere until he collapsed from exhaustion, so he had no choice but to give Father Soo her address. When Jian heard this, her emotions instantly erupted. She accused Do-kyung of having no right to interfere in her life, and asked why he had made her father come looking for her. Seeing Jian react this way left Do-kyung shaken. He said he would not bother her again and then left. At that moment, Do-kyung finally gave up on Jian completely. Back home, he found the wooden doll Jian had left behind. He placed it outside Jian's door and left only after making sure she got it. The next day, Do-kyung received a call from his fiancée Sora, who had just returned from overseas. She asked him to meet her for a meal at an outdoor restaurant. The moment Do-kyung arrived, he sensed something was off. It turned out everyone sitting nearby had been sent by his chaebol mother to watch them. As the two chatted, Do-kyung kept thinking about Jian from time to time, and Sora noticed it with a thoughtful look. On the way back, Sora asked when they would get engaged. Unexpectedly, Do-kyung said, "Let's just get married." Sora was surprised to hear that. She felt Do-kyung was trying to run from something by rushing into marriage, so she said they should follow the family's arrangement instead, to bring them closer. Sora asked Do-kyung to go ice skating with her the next day. While Sora was skating, someone suddenly got in her way. Just as she was about to fall, Do-kyung caught her from behind. But Sora could tell he was trying to avoid physical contact with her, and that made her realize Do-kyung had someone else in his heart. As they left, Sora told Do-kyung she was actually an expert skater, and that today she had only been confirming what she already suspected, leaving Do-kyung with nothing to say. When he got home, the housekeeper handed Do-kyung the bag Jian had left behind. He found Jian and explained why he had come, then told her how he truly felt. But Jian knew the gap between their families was too great and turned him down. As Do-kyung drove back, he was distracted thinking about Jian. Just then, a large truck suddenly came toward him around the curve. In that dangerous moment, Jian's face appeared in his mind. The heiress had just come home when an old man pulled her into a hug. Luckily her mother said he was her grandfather, so the girl finally relaxed. Then he praised her for being as beautiful as her mother was when she was young. His sweet talk and concern were surprisingly smooth. But her father standing nearby looked deeply troubled, because just moments earlier, this old man had planned to turn the anniversary celebration into an employee team building event, then arrange for Jisoo to study abroad, and only reveal her identity after Do-kyung got married. That way it would not affect the company's marriage alliance plan. Naive Jisoo still thought her grandfather was being kind to her, but things did not go as expected. The future-in-laws called Madam, saying their daughter Sora really liked Do-kyung, and wanted to complete the engagement ceremony with him. After attending the company's anniversary celebration, she would return to the United States to finish school. Madam immediately went to discuss it with the chaebol grandfather. Since Jian had already shown her face in front of Madam's friends before, they decided to have Jisoo dress up as Jian and reveal her identity, to get Jisoo to go along with the plan. Even the grilled skewer bread she liked, a so-called low-class food, was placed on the table. Her grandfather even pretended to be sick to win Jisoo's sympathy. Her mother also gave her a credit card to use however she wanted, and told her that if the daughter swap scandal got out, Hye-sun Group would become a joke in the business world, and her father's chance to inherit the group chairman position would disappear. So Jisoo gave in and began learning upper-class etiquette, preparing herself to give a speech on stage. Meanwhile Do-kyung, who had just escaped danger on the road, realized he had fallen in love with Jian, so he went home and came clean to his parents. He would not get engaged to Sora. His parents stared at him in shock, thinking they must have heard him wrong. Do-kyung said again, he could not accept a marriage without love, since it involved the company's future development plans. His parents firmly refused to let Do-kyung act on his own. His father privately found Do-kyung and told him, if your grandfather finds out, can you handle the consequences? After thinking it over all night, Do-kyung went to see Sora, and told her he had someone he liked, so he could not marry her. But Sora said she was also trapped by her family's arrangement, and did not have the courage to fight back. So Do-kyung went straight to Sora's mother, and told her he would not accept an arranged marriage. The news soon reached his grandfather. He suspected Do-kyung had someone he liked, and told Madam to find out who the woman was. The next day, when Do-kyung returned to the company, he received a personnel transfer notice. He was being reassigned to the European branch, which also meant he had lost his status as the family heir. Do-kyung had already prepared himself for this. He went to Jian's workplace to see her one last time. As he watched from a distance while she worked happily, he remembered what Jian had once told him, you should do what you truly want to do, and he changed his mind. He went to his parents and handed them a resignation letter, saying he was leaving Hye-sun Group to live independently. The woman whose fiancé had been taken away actually went to talk business with her rival. She deliberately asked Jian to custom make 2 table lamps as an engagement gift. So Ra asked for her name and her fiancé's name to be engraved on them. Jian froze when she heard the names, thinking Ra had come to show off. She angrily told her that she had nothing to do with Do-kyung and then walked away. So Ra caught up with her and said, why can't you just accept this order with confidence? If you personally give them to Do-kyung, it would be good for everyone. After hearing that Jian also wanted to cut ties with Do-kyung, so she agreed to the request. 3 days later Do-kyung came to take Ra to the airport. On the way Ra told him about meeting Jian. It turned out Ra already had someone she loved, but she had been forced to compromise because of her family's arrangement. To thank Do-kyung for calling off the engagement, she went to test Jian. Without a doubt Jian had feelings for Do-kyung. Just then, Do-kyung received a text from Jian, saying she would bring the lamps over soon. Do-kyung immediately rushed back to his office to wait for her. When Jian arrived she questioned Do-kyung about why he kept coming to see her, if he was already engaged. Do-kyung said he had already called off the engagement, and that Ra had only been joking. Jian was stunned on the spot. Do-kyung asked if she was not curious who he had called it off for. Jian was so startled that she left without even taking the money. When she reached the company lobby, she saw a notice saying Do-kyung had been demoted and transferred to Europe. She wondered if it was because of her that Do-kyung had called off the engagement, and was now being punished with a demotion. Grandfather saw that the wealthy couple could not control Do-kyung, so to force him to give in, he went to him and took away his bank cards and valuables, leaving him only some cash before throwing him out of the house. But Do-kyung still stood by his decision. The moment he stepped outside he was shivering from the cold, so he immediately took a taxi to the mall to buy a down jacket, then went to a hotel and booked a presidential suite. The next day, after seeing how little cash he had left, he had no choice but to ask a friend for money. But his friend had already received notice from the chairman, forbidding anyone from giving Do-kyung any help. His friend advised him to stop resisting, With nowhere else to go, he went to find Jian. Thinking that Do-kyung was being transferred to Europe, she offered to treat him to a meal. Using the excuse of trying something new, Do-kyung experienced riding a bus with her for the first time. After dinner, Do-kyung lied and said he would be gone for 2 years. He was thrilled when he heard Jian say she would miss him. When they parted, Jian could not hold back her tears. That night, Do-kyung was looking for a place to stay when his assistant happened to call and invited him to crash at his place. Looking at the room packed with clutter, he could barely sleep all night. The next day, the assistant's mother prepared a generous breakfast for him, but when he saw the elderly woman eating the leftovers from his plate, he realized how difficult life could be for people without money. Before leaving, he quietly slipped her some cash. With no money left, he had to take a part-time job at a gym. After working himself to exhaustion all day, he earned only 50,000 won. He gave a helpless smile and told himself it was just a life experience. With nowhere to stay, he could only wander around. When he passed by Ji-an's residence, he happened to hear two people talking about Ji-an. After asking around, he learned it was a shared youth apartment. Just then, Ji-an and Woo Hyuk came home from work, and both of them were stunned to see Do-kyung there. The chaebol heir left home with nothing for the woman he loved. To make ends meet, he worked part-time at a gym during the day, and moved packages at a delivery company at night. Even meals had to be rushed between shifts. After work, he hurried to catch the bus, but ran too fast, fell to the ground and scraped his palm. Once on the bus, other passengers complained about his sweaty smell. When he got home, he saw Jian but did not dare go near her. Seeing the bruised and exhausted Do-kyung washing clothes, Jian felt nothing but heartache. She could not bear watching him suffer and wanted to persuade him to go back, but before she could speak, he cut her off. The next day was Christmas and also Jian's birthday. Everyone went out to relax and celebrate, but Do-kyung came home early and taught himself how to make soup. He even coldly refused when his roommate asked for a bowl. After everything was ready, he went to the station to wait for Jian, but Jian unexpectedly returned to the dorm from somewhere else. After hearing from the landlord that Do-kyung had hurt himself moving packages and even cooked for her, Jian realized what had happened and ran out to find him. As she checked the injury on his hand, Do-kyung gave Jian the necklace that he had bought after working several jobs for days. Seeing how much Do-kyung had done for her, she instantly broke down.
제발 하지 마요. 돌아가라고 제발.
좋아한다는 말로 들린다.
이미 알잖아. 몰라 내가 너 좋아하는 거?
The two finally confirmed their true feelings, but Jian was afraid of his wealthy family, so she decided to keep things as they were. After that, the two had dinner together, and Jian carefully treated his wound. Meanwhile, Do-kyung's chaebol parents missed him deeply. Without him, the family dinner felt painfully dull. The next day, his grandfather found his mother and asked for the dashcam from Do-kyung's car to be checked to find the woman who made him give up his inheritance. But Do-kyung's father had already destroyed the memory card first. Later, his mother learned from the housekeeper that before leaving home, Do-kyung had handed her the bag Jian left behind. After searching his room and finding nothing, his mother thought back to this period and realized the two had been seeing each other often. She immediately understood that the woman her son loved was Jian, so she went to find Jian at once and angrily accused her of failing to become a chaebol daughter. So now she was trying to climb the ladder through her son. Facing his mother's accusations, Jian did not back down. She fired back directly, saying she would not date Do-kyung, that their family matters had nothing to do with her, and she had no interest in anything from their chaebol family. Her words left his mother speechless. The next day, Do-kyung confronted his mother and said he would marry no one but Jian, telling her not to bother Jian anymore. But his mother told him this was only wishful thinking. Jian would never be with someone from a chaebol family like him. Hearing that surprised Do-kyung, so he hurried to find Jian and confirm if it was true. But Jian's firm attitude left Do-kyung deeply disappointed. Thinking of all his efforts and sacrifices that still failed to earn her trust, his emotions finally burst out. He ran wildly through the snow by himself, and only returned to the apartment when he was completely exhausted. Worried about him, Jian checked on him and found that Do-kyung had a high fever. Do-kyung kept murmuring Jian's name in his feverish state. Hearing this made Jian ache with sadness. Looking at the man she loved, she slowly leaned down and kissed him. To break free from his family's control, the third-generation heir took the bus to do day labor during the day and chose to put up with unreasonable customers. At night, he returned to his apartment and worked on an investment proposal. Since he could not afford an office, he had to ask a friend to borrow an address, then went to register a new company and kept submitting proposals to secure funding. When he finally got a chance to pitch to investors, he was questioned for talking about projects worth hundreds of billions. Even after failing again and again, he still did not give up. But just as his project began to show promise, the investor stood him up. It turned out his grandfather was pulling strings to force him back home. His chaebol mother was not sitting idle either. She went to the restaurant given to Mrs. Soo as thanks for raising him, took it back and fired Mrs. Soo. His chaebol grandfather even went straight to the shared apartment to find Jian. The two were surprised to see his grandfather arrive. The moment he came in, he threw his weight around and drove everyone else away. Dojing quickly explained that he and Jian had nothing to do with each other anymore, but his grandfather would not listen at all and spoke directly to the landlord, offering to buy the house at 5 times the market price to give it to Jian, when in reality he wanted to humiliate her with money. The landlord saw everything and could not stand it anymore, so he introduced himself and greeted the old man. then said he was not willing to sell the house. It turned out the landlord was also the heir of a prestigious family, and his family's power was no less than Hye-sun Group. Seeing that he could not show off his wealth, the old man had to leave in a hurry. Then he settled for going to Father Su's home, and told them Dojing and Jian were dating. Hearing the news, Father Su was also shocked. The chairman said before he took harsher action, Father Su had better keep his daughter in line, or he would make the whole family lose their jobs. Then he slapped him twice as punishment for switching Jisoo. The next day, Father Su suddenly collapsed just as he was about to go out. Jian received a call from the hospital and rushed there immediately. Seeing Father Su refused to cooperate with the doctor and insist he was fine, Jian immediately asked the doctor to examine his stomach. When Father Su saw that the whole family had come, he had no choice but to give in. After the examination, he ignored their advice and insisted on being discharged. Back home, when his family pressed him for answers, he had no choice but to say that on Christmas Day, he had felt unwell and even coughed up blood. Based on all his previous symptoms, he knew these were signs of stomach cancer. At that moment, Father Su seemed to have accepted everything. Not only was he not anxious, he even smiled happily. After dyeing his hair black, he went to the mall and bought a coat, and even attended a guitar concert. When he passed by a music store, he bought a guitar. He wanted to fulfill his music dream and what he thought was the time he had left. He wanted to live for himself for once. His family urged him to get treatment, but his father said he did not want to become a burden to his children, and felt that heaven was calling him. He was tired and he wanted to rest. At that moment, only Jian understood how her father felt, because she had once been at that same dark place. The next day, before his family woke up, Father Su left behind a note and went away. When everyone found out, they called him, but his phone was already turned off. Father Su went to a remote cabin, planning to spend the rest of his days alone. His family had no choice but to go to the hospital for the test results. Unexpectedly, the doctor said her father did not have cancer, but severe depression caused by emotional stress. Hearing this, Jian broke down emotionally and rushed out, remembering the hurtful things she had once said to her father. The elderly man who believed he had cancer left home to live on his own, but when his family came to visit, he coldly drove them away. Jian saw the cry for help written on the wall, and thinking her father still had unresolved pain, she pretended not to know, so she did not tell him the test results. Meanwhile, Do-kyung saw Jian reject him again and again, and remembered how Woo-hyuk had warned him when he found Jian before. If you cannot take responsibility, then do not hurt Jian. The next day, he went to the seaside village, and found the old man who had taken Jian in. From him, he learned that after Jian was kicked out back then, she came here and tried to end everything, and it was the old man who saved her deep in the mountains. Do-kyung remembered the hopeless look in Jian's eyes at the time, and finally understood why she resisted his family so much. He immediately rushed back to find Jian, and stepped forward to hold her tightly, because his wealthy family had caused her so much pain. The next day, he went to his grandfather and laid everything out, making it clear that he would not return to the family and become his puppet. He wanted to live life on his own terms. His grandfather asked if he was declaring war. Then his assistant came to find Do-kyung, and handed over all of his assets to him, planning to invest in his startup. With this funding and a capable helper, his project finally made real progress. Once they bought the factory and equipment, they could begin production. Just as they were about to pay the remaining balance and officially start production, they received news that the factory was no longer for sale. It turned out his grandfather had bought the factory for double the price, leaving Do-kyung deeply disappointed, with no choice but to drink away his frustration. When Jian found out, she was furious, because she knew how much effort Do-kyung had put into it, only to be crushed by money and power. She stayed up all night gathering factory equipment improvement materials for Do-kyung. When Do-kyung found out, he was deeply moved, and made a decision. He told Jian, "Since I cannot marry you and bring you into a wealthy family, then let us just date." At that moment, Jian was also touched by his persistence, and accepted his confession, but on the condition that they only date for 1 week. And just like that, they began their first official date. To experience what ordinary couples usually do, they chose to take the subway to see a movie. The subway was crowded, so Do-kyung protected Jian in his arms. At the theater, the two watched the entire movie with their fingers intertwined. While eating, Jian tried to keep her image while eating chicken feet, so he picked them up with his hands to show her. Only then did the two finally relax and enjoy the meal. The next day, Jian heard that Do-kyung and Sora had gone ice skating before, so feeling jealous, she demanded to go too. After they arrived at the rink, Jian finally showed him a smile she had not had in a long time. After leaving, Jian drove him back to his apartment. Do-kyung had been so busy with work and dates lately that he fell asleep from exhaustion. Jian did not have the heart to wake him, and ended up accidentally falling asleep too. Just then, a beam of light woke them both up. It turned out the wealthy mother had come looking for Do-kyung, and she was seen rushing straight toward them to get their son to come back and inherit the family business. The wealthy couple agreed to let him be with his girlfriend. As soon as they met, the wealthy mother asked Jian to pour her tea. Seeing Jian nervously holding the teapot with trembling hands, Dojin immediately stepped forward and poured tea for his parents. Seeing this, his mother suddenly said she had lost. She agreed to let the two get married. Those words startled both of them, but the condition was that Jian had to study abroad for 3 years, then marry him after she returned. They would also let her run an art gallery and fulfill her dream. This was the biggest concession the lady could make. The two were too overwhelmed to decide right away, so they agreed to give an answer in 4 days. Jian thought back to when she appeared as a fake heiress, and wondered what people would think if she married Dojin. Jian went to her younger sister for advice. After learning that the wealthy grandfather could cut off his own family for the family's reputation, Jian became even more worried. Dojin thought back to the harsh words his grandfather had said, and felt this was only his mother's delaying tactic. The next day he went home to see his mother, saying he did not plan to marry Jian, and would not return to the company either. It turned out this was all part of his mother's plan. She intended to break the couple apart within 3 years. Even the wealthy father had been kept in the dark. The two even had a huge fight over it. Dojin and Jian enjoyed their final day as a couple on a date, and even at night neither of them wanted to leave. Meanwhile, the wealthy grandfather received a message on his way to the airport. It said Dojin had successfully started his own company, and refused to return to the family business. The old man was so furious that he collapsed from a heart episode. After hearing the news, Dojin rushed to the hospital. When he learned his message was what made his grandfather collapse, he felt deeply guilty. To make up for the guilt in his heart, he left the shared apartment and returned home, accepting the position his grandfather had appointed him to. On his first day in office, he drove out his uncle who was occupying the chairman's office, then took over the company's operations again. At that moment his power as a wealthy CEO was on full display. But just then an article appeared online about the wealthy family's eldest daughter who had gone missing 25 years ago and was later found. Everyone at the company started talking. After the wealthy mother saw it, she suspected her younger sister had exposed their scandal to fight for the heir position. Just then the wealthy grandfather woke up. His condition was not serious. Seeing Dojin appear, and knowing he would accept the company appointment, he smiled with relief. The lady went to see the old man, asking him to announce Jisoo's identity right away. But the old man did not want to make things bigger. He used his connections directly, and had the newspaper president delete the article. Just when everyone thought the matter was handled, another article shot up the trending list, saying the wealthy lady had secretly met a lover back then, which led to her losing her daughter. After hearing this the old man nearly collapsed again. Meanwhile, Mr. Seo was forcefully brought to the old man by the housekeeper. Seeing his smile, Mr. Seo knew nothing good was coming. To protect the family's reputation, the wealthy family actually wanted the adoptive father to admit he had taken his adopted daughter. After hearing this, Mr. Seo immediately refused. Unexpectedly, the chairman threatened him, saying if he refused they would report him for switching the daughters' identities, and he would still end up facing prison. After thinking for a moment, Mr. Seo chose to give in. He knelt before the chairman and begged him to spare his family. Dojin's father appeared. After helping Mr. Seo up, he promised his father-in-law he would perfectly restore the family's reputation. Just then, another shocking story came out about Jian and her sister switching identities. After returning home, Mr. Seo studied the news and realized these details and the timeline could only be known by someone close to them. Through his investigation, he found the reporter who broke the story. He asked a friend to deliberately damage the reporter's car, then called the reporter saying he was Jisoo's adoptive father, and had a major story for him to come here right away. Seeing the front of his car badly damaged, the reporter had no choice but to take the other person's car first. On the way he called the person behind the plan. It turned out Dojin's aunt was behind everything, and the dashcam in the car recorded the entire conversation. Meanwhile, the wealthy mother sent Jisoo abroad to study and avoid the scandal. After receiving the news, Jian immediately told Dojin and Woo Hyuk to stop them. On the road they spotted the wealthy mother's car. The three split up and surrounded the car, forcing it to stop. Woo Hyuk opened the car door and reached out his hand. After a moment of hesitation, Jisoo shook off her mother's hand and firmly left. It turned out the two had already fallen for each other. One unexpected encounter had made them confirm their relationship. After that, Jian and Jisoo went to Mr. Seo's old house to stay out of the spotlight. Although the two had been apart for some time, they could still understand and accept each other. Mr. Seo went to see the wealthy father, and handed him the recorded evidence. Then he went to see his sister-in-law's husband, and played the recording for him, demanding that he take down all the reports, or he would expose their actions to the chairman. And he knew very well that Dojin was the future pillar of Hye-sun Group. Bringing Dojin down would not benefit them at all. Seeing the online reports being removed, Mr. Seo finally felt relieved. Dojin told Jian that thanks to Mr. Seo this crisis was resolved, but the aunt who refused to give up called for a board vote to remove the chairman. During the vote, the younger daughter and her husband were the first to stand in favor. Fully prepared, they successfully pushed the old man out of power. The younger daughter also made a sudden motion to remove her older sister and brother-in-law from the board. The old man never expected that the family business he built his whole life would be taken by his younger daughter. He was so furious that he passed out. Even that could not stop the younger daughter's ambition. She forced the meeting to continue and removed the two from the board. Meanwhile, Jian's whole family reunited, and went to the restaurant they used to visit to celebrate. At that moment, Mr. Seo suddenly felt unwell, and ran to the restroom to throw up. His hand was covered in red. It turned out he had gone to another hospital for a new examination. The earlier diagnosis had been mistaken. This time he truly had late-stage stomach cancer. Fate had played a cruel joke, leaving him only 2 months. The wealthy couple was removed from the group board by the younger sister. Daojing questioned his aunt about why she seized power and removed his grandfather, but his aunt calmly replied that the old chairman was getting too old, and it was finally time for him to step down and rest. Daojing's family could now only rely on the upcoming shareholder meeting. They needed support from more than 25% of the shares, in order to protect the wealthy couple's positions within the company, and return the chairman position back to grandfather. So they mobilized all their friends and connections to contact shareholders around the clock. After calculating everything, they expected to surpass the aunt by 2%. The shareholder meeting began as scheduled. Both sides confidently walked into the conference hall, but at the last moment two shareholders suddenly switched sides against Dao Jing's family. The unexpected move completely caught them off guard, and the wealthy couple was removed from their positions without surprise. Just as they were about to elect a new chairman, Dao Jing suddenly announced he would join the election, leaving everyone in the room shocked. He then stepped onto the stage and explained why he had left home before. It turned out his grandfather had authorized him to explore a new market, and he had successfully returned with strong results. He then played a recording exposing his aunt's secret stock buying scheme. The entire room immediately erupted in discussion. In the end, Dao Jing successfully gained the shareholders' support and became the new chairman. All of this was possible because Jian's father had secretly helped behind the scenes. Having once gone through bankruptcy himself, he sensed the situation was not that simple. When he looked at the shareholder registry, he noticed an address from one of his old construction sites. People living in poor neighborhoods could not possibly own that many shares, so he went to investigate, and discovered the real person controlling everything was Dao Jing's aunt. To thank Sue's father, the wealthy father personally visited him, and admitted that if Sue's mother had not taken Jisho away back then, she would have been lost during the terrible storm. This finally eased the guilt Sue's mother had carried for years. The next day at the design competition award ceremony, Jian attended. She won a 6-month study opportunity at a Finnish art academy. Sue's father rushed up first to present flowers to his daughter. As he looked at the smile blooming across her face, there was also a trace of helplessness hidden within his own smile. After returning home, he took out 20 million from his cancer insurance payout for his daughter. Jian asked in confusion where the money came from. Sue's father could only say he earned it through investments with a friend, and encouraged her to follow her dreams. Because he knew his time was running short, he had already prepared his will, and arranged the rest of the insurance money. Not wanting to delay Jian's study abroad plans, he had already bought her plane ticket for the following week, and asked her to leave early. Although Jian felt everything was happening too fast, she still did not want to disappoint her father, so she said goodbye to her friends one by one. That night, while Sue's father was discussing a startup plan with his younger son, he suddenly ran outside and became sick. When Sue's mother saw the bitter fluid he coughed up, she realized it was a sign of stomach cancer and broke down in tears. Sue's father worried that if Jian found out she would give up studying in Finland, so he asked the family not to tell her anything, but her younger brother still called Jian.
뭐?
After learning her father had terminal stomach cancer, Jian collapsed to the ground in despair. The next day she went to the hospital to ask about treatment options, but the doctor said he had less than 2 months left, and suggested spending quality time with him instead. After returning home, she held back her tears and told her father that she had postponed her flight and would not go to Finland yet. Sue's father nervously urged her not to give up this opportunity, because this was the last thing he could do for her as a father. Jian wanted to stay by his side during the time he had left, otherwise she would regret it for the rest of her life. After saying that, she hugged her father and burst into tears. Later her parents decided to return to their hometown and spend time together alone. After watching them leave, Jian wandered to the studio in a daze. The moment she saw Dao Jing, her eyes filled with tears, and she finally broke down crying on his shoulder. Meanwhile, the housekeeper received a phone call, and asked Madame for leave to handle her father's funeral. After hearing this, Madame simply handed her 20 million and walked away, without any intention of attending the memorial. 35 years of loyalty serving the wealthy family was dismissed with just 20 million. When the housekeeper returned after handling the funeral, she appeared completely transformed and handed over her resignation letter. Madame looked shocked, and tried to persuade her to stay with a raise but was rejected. The housekeeper also revealed the truth about watching Madame's daughter being taken away years ago. It turned out the old chairman had ordered her to secretly follow Madame. At first she wanted to step in and stop it, but then remembered the chairman had warned her not to reveal herself. After seeing Madame ignore them completely and drive away, she wanted to call the police, but because she had long held resentment toward the wealthy family, and could not afford the expensive medical bills for her parents, she had no choice but to obey the wealthy family. Yet they had never truly treated her like a person, so she chose to keep the truth hidden. Hearing this, Madame's eyes turned red, and the two instantly got into a heated struggle. Afterward, Madame noticed a piece of paper on the floor with a license plate number written on it. The housekeeper explained that after the incident, if the wealthy family had shown her even a little respect, they would not have needed 25 years to find their daughter. After saying that, she tossed the 20 million back to Madame and left. Looking at her own miserable reflection, Madame was filled with regret. After hearing Jian plan to study abroad, Dao Jing tried to convince her to stay, telling her he would resign once he finished handling company matters. But Jian told him that the old chairman had previously approached her. In order to stop their relationship, he had also gone to Sue's father. He slapped him and pressured him to kneel and beg, and apologize to her for it. But Jian could not accept it and ran away. She could neither forgive Dao Jing nor forgive herself. She hoped that if they met again in the future they would act like strangers. Dao Jing confronted his grandfather and exposed why he had approached Jian, feeling disgusted by his actions. After learning his grandfather had recovered, he arranged for him to return to Hawaii for a vacation. One day Jian's family went out for a walk under the clear weather. From a distance they saw their son along with relatives and friends gathered there. They had even set up a simple stage. Jian knew that becoming a guitar performer had always been her father's dream. After the performance they took a family photo together. Then Sue's father sat alone enjoying the warmth of the sunlight. As he looked toward the sky he appeared peaceful and content. Jian called out to her father several times but received no response. At first she thought he had fallen asleep. Then suddenly Sue's father's head slowly lowered without strength.
안 돼요, 아빠. 안 돼요, 안 돼요, 안 돼요, 안 돼요, 안 돼. 아빠, 안 돼, 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 아빠, 안 돼, 안 돼, 아빠.
The man's sudden passing was more than his family and friends could accept at first. The wealthy couple came to attend the funeral, but because of what his grandfather had done, Do Kyung felt too ashamed to face Jian. In the end, Mr. Seo was buried beneath the big tree, with the wooden plaque Jian had carved by hand hanging there. While sorting through his belongings, they found a notebook. Inside were Mr. Seo's final words and how he wanted his money divided. Out of the 180 million won, he left 80 million for Jian to use for studying abroad. It seemed the person Mr. Seo worried about most was still his daughter. After the funeral ended, Jian went overseas to study. In the blink of an eye, it was almost the anniversary of Mr. Seo's passing. Jian also came back from Finland. Over the past year, the family had changed a lot. Her older brother had a daughter and lived with Mrs. Seo. Her younger brother opened a bakery with his girlfriend. Ji-soo and Woo-hyuk were also close to talking about marriage. Ji-soo told her sister that half a year ago Do Kyung had handed the chairman position over to their uncle-in-law. The relationship within the wealthy family had also eased. He had moved out to live on his own and returned to work hard at the company he had started before. That day, after the family paid their respects to Mr. Seo, Jian got a call from her best friend, saying she should go on a blind date in her place. Unexpectedly, the person who showed up was Do Kyung. He even pretended not to know Jian, and handed her his business card as he introduced himself. Facing Do Kyung's intense pursuit, flustered Jian had no choice but to run away. The next day they ran into each other again at her younger brother's bakery, and he took her to a wood carving gallery. He told Jian he had built it according to Mr. Seo's wishes. It turned out that before Mr. Seo passed away, Do Kyung had come to apologize to him for deeply hurting Jian. But Mr. Seo did not blame him. Instead, he advised him to wait until Jian's heart had settled, and told him that as long as his feelings were sincere, even waiting a lifetime would not feel too long. So Do Kyung had quietly stayed by Jian's side all along. Her best friend was moved by him too, and secretly kept him updated so he could know where Jian was. She hoped the two of them could get back together. Do Kyung said he would take her to the airport tomorrow, but Jian turned him down. She told Do Kyung, if I still like you the next time we meet, then let's be together. The next day, while going through security, Jian kept looking back, as if she was waiting for someone to appear. And from a corner, Do Kyung secretly watched Jian board the plane. He did not know Jian had always kept his wooden figure with her. That day, while Jian was working at the bar, she saw a familiar face. It turned out Do Kyung did not want to wait another moment, so he came to Jian himself and confessed his feelings. Seeing the man she loved appear before her, Jian smiled with both emotion and joy.